The end of an era. I deserve this after sacrificing so much for the company. That was the message waiting on my phone. I'd just come out of surgery, a long, invasive procedure. I couldn't feel my legs yet, but I felt that. The room smelled like bleach and old fear. No flowers, no visitors, just the hum of something medical keeping rhythm. I stared at the screen, read it twice, then typed my reply. Interesting perspective. And that was it. My name is Mason Hart, 47, co-founder of Halden and Hart Industries. We built roads, stadiums, water lines, the kind of projects people drive over without ever thinking who poured the concrete. Derek, my cousin, brought charisma. He handled the city councils, the luncheons, the glossy brochure stuff. I stayed in the dirt. He smiled at investors. I fixed the equipment when it broke mid-contract. He gave speeches. I worked weekends. We started in his father's garage, 20 years ago this week. Apparently, he thought that meant he owned the vault. I sat up slow, numb on the left side, groggy everywhere else. A nurse walked in just as I reached for my jeans. "You shouldn't be moving yet." I didn't answer, just waved her off with 2 fingers. The floor was cold. My balance was off, but I wasn't going to die in that gown. By the time I got the boots on, she'd stopped trying to stop me. My wallet was in the chair. Same one Derek gave me when we landed our first federal contract. Inside, folded, was a photo. The 3 of us, me, Derek, and his father, Franklin, covered in grease, smiling in front of a flatbed. I tore it straight across Derek's face, kept the rest. Folded it once, back into the wallet. Some faces don't belong in the past anymore. At the front desk, I signed the discharge papers. The nurse looked at the clipboard, then back at me. "No one came to pick you up?" I shook my head. She hesitated. "You sure you're okay to leave?" I nodded once. Didn't say a word. Outside, the air was too bright. The cab smelled like pine cleaner and impatience. I gave my address. He didn't speak the whole ride. Good. We passed the Halden and Hart headquarters on the way. Glass building, big signage, parking lot full. The windows on the 6th floor were lit. That was Derek's new office. My name wasn't on the glass anymore. I didn't look. Didn't need to. 3 days ago, Franklin called me. Asked if we could talk, alone. I didn't know why. But I went. He met me in a diner on Route 10. Same one he used to take us to when Derek and I were teenagers, back when he still wore a tool belt and not a cufflink. He slid something across the table in a sealed envelope, said, "Think carefully before you open it." I hadn't. Not yet. When I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. Didn't take off my boots either. Went straight to the bookshelf. 3rd shelf, behind the faded ledger books. There was a hidden drawer most people wouldn't notice. Derek didn't. I'd built it years ago. I opened it. The envelope was still there, untouched, still sealed. I picked it up, held it, didn't open it, didn't have to. I knew exactly what it said. Franklin gave it to me the night before the surgery. He told me to think carefully. I did. Back then, my days started before the sun. Coffee, black, no sugar, thermos in hand. I'd drive out to Site B43, bridge reinforcements outside Harwell. Crews clocked in at 6. I was usually there by 5:30. The cold didn't bother me. Noise didn't either. What bothered me was silence where there shouldn't be any. Like when concrete wasn't curing right or when the rebar shipment was late and no one had said a word. I didn't need a title, just a clipboard and room to work. If something broke, they called me, not Derek. Franklin still came around some mornings. He didn't say much, never did. But he'd lean on the same railing, watch me work, and nod once if the formwork looked good. He built half the tunnels in western Pennsylvania, knew exactly when someone was cutting corners. He never asked about reports or KPIs, just looked me in the eye and said things like, "The cement talks if you know how to listen." I didn't know if it was praise or warning. With Franklin, it didn't matter. One day he handed me a wrench without speaking. The bolt was rusted. I fixed it. That was our version of trust. Derek had a gift for talking. That much I'll admit. He knew how to dress, how to charm a city official, how to get a local paper to run a feature with his face beside a crane we rented. He called them public relations wins. I called them distractions. We sat through pitch meetings where he ran the slides like a game show host. Sleek lines, rising bars, smiles that rehearsed themselves. I stood in the back with dirt on my sleeves. After one big deal closed, he introduced me to the boardroom full of investors. This is Mason, the guy who makes it all happen. He smiled when he said it. But something about the way he said makes instead of built never sat right with me. Like I was a function, not a founder. It was a contract in Fallridge that first set off alarms. Derek pushed it through, fast, too fast. Skipped legal review, said the city was on a deadline. I looked over the documents later. He'd missed a clause about materials escalation. Left us exposed if prices shifted. They did. It could have cost us 6 figures. I fixed it before it hit the books. Called the supplier directly, restructured the terms, absorbed the penalty quietly. Didn't mention it to Derek. Didn't want to thank you. Just made a note in my ledger and moved on. A week later, Franklin called me into his garage. Same one where we started the company. Tools still lined the back wall. Coffee machine in the corner, still dripping slow. He didn't ask how the contract went. He just held out a blank notepad and said, "Start taking notes, just in case." I didn't ask why. Just took it. Wrote the date on the first line. The Saturday before the surgery, I was in the field until sunset. Had to sort out a subcontractor issue and clear up an OSHA delay. When I came back to HQ, the building was mostly dark. Everyone gone. Everyone except Derek. He was walking out of the conference room. Jacket off, tie loosened. 2 men followed behind him. Lawyers from the look of it. They carried binders. One of them held a document open as he walked. Derek didn't see me at first. When he did, he smiled too quickly. "Still at it, Mason. Go home, man. You live here now?" I grunted something about punch lists. Then I saw it. One of the papers the lawyer held. The header was visible just long enough. It was a corporate asset form. My name was on it. Not bolded, not at the top. Buried. Small font. Line item. He smiled like nothing had changed. But I'd never seen my name printed that small before. They shut down my system access on a Thursday. I thought it was a glitch. It said they were migrating platforms. I nodded. Waited. Nothing came back. By Friday, I couldn't log into the vendor portal. My email bounced. The security gate asked me to check in as a visitor. I was still listed as co-founder on the wall plaque, but apparently not in the system. No warning, no explanation, just erased. On Monday, Derek sent a company-wide email. Exciting leadership restructuring to position the firm for scalable growth. He copied the new org chart at the bottom. My name wasn't on it. There was a new role, Director of Field Execution, under someone named Travis. Travis used to order donuts for team briefings. He once asked me if torque wrenches had batteries. Now he had a corner office. I tried to move funds to pay a subcontractor. The card declined. I logged into the joint account, or tried to. Password failed. Then I got a text from the bank confirming a user removal. I drove to the branch. The manager, a guy I'd known for 12 years, met me in the lobby. His eyes said more than his words did. "I'm really sorry, Mason. The authorization form came through yesterday, from your partner, with legal counsel attached. I asked to see the document." He turned his screen. There it was. Signature block, timestamp, and a clause I'd never approved, claiming sole financial authority in the event of medical unavailability. Derek had attached my upcoming surgery report as supporting documentation. I didn't say a word, just nodded, stood, and left. At home, I pulled out my fireproof lockbox, receipts, backups, contracts, notes Franklin made with pencil on yellow legal pads. I flipped through the oldest files. Original founding papers from 2003. There it was. Addendum 3, Founders' Exit Rights, 2006. It guaranteed veto rights to either founder for any major transaction, but it required both signatures to be valid. Mine wasn't on anything recent. I tried calling Franklin, no answer. Texted him, no read receipts. Drove to his place. The porch light was on. His truck was in the drive. But no one opened the door. After a minute, a woman came out. His nurse, I assumed. She recognized me. Hesitated. He's not seeing visitors. His attorney said it's best not to get involved. I handed her a manila envelope. Tell him I still have the file from Route 10. He'll know what that means. She took it slowly, nodded once, closed the door. Back at HQ, Derek was hosting a vision lunch with the junior managers. He had a whiteboard behind him and a digital pointer in his hand. He pointed at a graphic with 3 pillars: growth, efficiency, legacy. Legacy was highlighted in gold. He looked up and saw me through the glass, raised his coffee cup like a toast. I didn't blink, just turned and walked out. That night I drove out to Lot 17. It was where we used to store materials we didn't want anyone else to find first. Rare alloys, discontinued parts, decommissioned tools. The code still worked. In the back, under a tarp, was the first steel beam ever used on our first job. It had a number stenciled on it, DMF001, Derek and Mason founders. I stood there for a while, not to reminisce, to remind myself what the foundation really was. The next morning I showed up early, sat in my truck across from the office, watched as a courier arrived with a thick envelope. He asked for Derek. The receptionist signed for it. 10 minutes later, I saw Derek walk into the conference room, alone. He opened the envelope, paused, then paced, pulled out his phone, made a call, then another. Then he sat down, put both hands behind his head, stared at the ceiling. He'd just received a formal notice of discovery, filed under a clause he signed 17 years ago, and forgot existed. The lawyer's office was 2 stories above a pawn shop on Route 9. No sign outside, just a name on the buzzer, R.J. Mathers Counsel. Inside it smelled like old paper and pipe smoke. Mathers looked like he'd been practicing since the Carter administration. He didn't ask how I found him, just pointed to the chair. I slid the folder across the desk. Addendum 3, Franklin's old notes, time-stamped emails, and the updated bank authorization forms Derek filed while I was sedated. He flipped through without saying a word. Then, if Holden signs an affidavit confirming no co-authorization, the restructuring falls apart. I nodded. He's not talking, but he's still thinking. Mathers tapped the folder once. Then he'll know what to do when it arrives. By noon, the documents were notarized and sealed. Mathers couriered them directly to the office with a receipt confirmation. Not email, not fax, paper, physical. Inside, a formal litigation notice invoking Addendum 3, citing irregular financial transfers, breach of fiduciary duty, and use of medical absence to assert sole authority, without consent. It was addressed to the board, but Derek opened it during a Q3 planning session with department heads. A junior analyst told me later that his smile vanished after the 3rd page. He paused, then folded the letter. Didn't say a word, just ended the meeting for scheduling conflicts. Later, I learned Derek walked back into the room with the envelope still in hand. He didn't sit, just stood there, flipping pages as the projector kept running. Quarterly charts faded behind him. No one spoke. He looked at the finance director, someone I trained, asked if he'd ever seen Clause 14B before. The guy shook his head. Derek nodded slowly, folded the papers, said, "Let's reschedule. Something's come up." That was it. But that silence traveled faster than a memo. That same afternoon, I received a call from a number I hadn't seen in years. Victor L. Belling, board member emeritus. Old money, rarely involved. He said one thing. "I didn't know about the addendum. Send me everything." I did. The next day, Derek struck back. He sent a company-wide email with the subject, misleading legal claims and legacy clarifications. 3 paragraphs, cold, polished. He said certain parties were using obsolete clauses to sow confusion. Then he attached something, a PDF of an alleged email from me, dated 5 years ago. It read, "I hereby relinquish all future operational rights in the event of extended absence." The signature was mine. The email headers weren't. I never wrote that, never signed it. But to someone reading fast, it looked official. One of our vendors paused a shipment, pending clarity on management. My insurance broker called asking if I was still authorized. Someone was working fast behind the scenes. I drove past the site that afternoon. My parking space was repainted, my nameplate removed from the executive floor directory. But the flag outside still had 2 stars. Franklin insisted on that, 1 for each founder. They hadn't taken it down yet. By Friday, the silence was louder than the emails. Brendan, our first hire, the one who built the vendor intake protocol with me, didn't return my call. Janine from compliance sent back a 3-word reply. "Can't talk now." I stopped by the office one last time. The receptionist didn't make eye contact. In the storage wing where we kept archived contracts, the door was locked. A new keypad installed. "Security update," someone said. I walked to my old desk. It was empty. Even the framed photo was gone, the one Franklin gave me when we landed our first 7-figure contract. Before leaving, I checked the main conference room one last time. The walls still had our first framed permits, city seals from back when we didn't even have a website. Someone had taken down the one from the Harwell Bridge. The spot on the wall was bare, but the dust outline was still there. You could see exactly where it had hung for 16 years. I ran my hand across it once, then walked out without looking back. I went back to my truck, watched the building for a while. I didn't rage, didn't cry, just watched. Then I pulled a leather folder from the glove compartment. Inside, 1 letter, 1 destination, Franklin Holden. He thinks the board believes him. Let's see how they feel. After what arrives Thursday, I mailed it from a post office 40 miles out of town. No return address, tracked delivery, signature required. Inside, a letter, typed but unsigned. Just 1 line handwritten in blue ink at the bottom. "It's time." Alongside it, a notarized copy of Addendum 3 and a photo, taken in 2006. 2 men holding up a steel beam marked DMF-001. Derek. Me. Franklin took that photo. There's more than one way to deliver a signature, especially when the man who holds the pen used to build tunnels under federal courthouses. The envelope arrived Thursday morning, hand-delivered, no courier label. Just Holden scrawled across the front in blocky blue ink. Franklin opened it in his study. Old oak desk, no lights on, just the blinds half drawn. Inside, 1 letter, 1 photo, 1 notarized document. He looked at the photo first. 2 men, dust-covered, laughing, holding up a steel beam marked DMF-001. Then the letter, typed, short, precise. He didn't speak, just ran his finger along the signature line. Then he folded everything once, placed it back in the envelope, and locked it in his drawer. That afternoon, he canceled all his meetings and drove into the city. No driver. Franklin showed up at the office the next morning wearing a dark gray coat I hadn't seen in years. No tie, no smile. Derek spotted him in the lobby and walked over fast, overcompensating, cheerful. "Hey, we were just about to jump into Q4 revisions." Franklin didn't stop walking. "I'm not attending." He didn't raise his voice, didn't explain. An hour later, the board received an internal memo from Franklin's assistant. "Mr. Holden requests a closed session with all board members, Friday 8 a.m. Subject, structural oversight review." No one replied, but by noon, 5 directors had cleared their calendars, and Derek had started making calls. The boardroom was colder than usual. Someone had left the AC on overnight, 10 chairs, 9 filled. I sat near the corner, not at the table. Franklin stood at the head. He didn't clear his throat, didn't open with pleasantries. He placed 3 folders on the table. I'll make this brief. He slid one toward Derek, one toward the legal advisor, and one toward the CFO. Inside, Addendum 3, signed, notarized, dated. Also included, metadata analysis from an independent IT firm, proving the renunciation email Derek circulated was fabricated. Franklin didn't look at Derek as he spoke. These documents speak for themselves. I am not proposing legal action, but I am recommending immediate suspension of authority until proper review is completed. Someone asked where the documents came from. Franklin said only, they were sent by someone who still values what we built. No one spoke for a full 30 seconds. Then the chairman called for a vote. Before the vote, the chairman turned to me. Mr. Mason, do you have anything to add? I could have stood up, could have listed every detail Derek forged, every conversation he twisted, every dollar he rerouted. Instead, I just shook my head. I've already said what mattered, in writing. He waited, then nodded. That was enough. Derek didn't look at me, but his hand was trembling under the table. I folded my arms and leaned back. The vote proceeded. The motion passed. 4 in favor of immediate leadership suspension. 2 abstained, 1 against. Franklin didn't vote. Derek sat frozen as the chairman delivered the result. Effective immediately, operational authority is suspended pending legal review. All proprietary and financial decisions will require joint oversight. The room didn't erupt. It just settled. I was offered interim control. I declined. Not my focus anymore. Instead, I requested access to the storage annex, my contracts, my materials, my history. That they granted, unanimously. As I left the building, Franklin was waiting by the service elevator. He didn't say much, just handed me a sealed envelope and said, "It's what we kept, back when it still meant something." Then he walked away. I didn't open it right there. I drove to the Harwell Bridge, where the company first broke ground. Parked, sat on the hood, opened the envelope slowly. Inside, an original copy of our founding contract, signed by both of us, and a short note in Franklin's handwriting. You never needed his permission. There was also a small key. No label, no instructions, just silence. And that silence said everything. The new place isn't much. Just a converted tool shed on a property outside Millersburg. Gravel driveway, 2 rooms, 1 window. But it's quiet. Most mornings start the same. Black coffee, no sugar. Then work. I stripped the walls down to the studs. Reinforced them myself. Insulated every corner. Not because anyone's coming, just because it feels right to do things right. There's an old lathe I picked up from a retired carpenter, some pine boards, a hand sander that hums like a tractor. It's not a business, not yet. But the silence here doesn't ask for returns. It just is. Last week, someone knocked. Didn't recognize the truck, but the kid stepping out looked familiar. It was Jonas, one of the interns from R&D, barely 23. Smart, overlooked. Fired the same day I was renounced. He held a small box in his hands. They cleared the old lab. I found this under your desk. Inside, my first prototype draft, smudged with ink and oil. He looked around the shed. You really walked away from all that? I took the box, nodded once. Some things are easier to carry when you let go first. He didn't reply, just stood a moment longer, then drove off. Didn't need to say more. That evening I opened the fireproof drawer beneath the lathe. The envelope Franklin gave me was still there, uncreased, untouched since the bridge. I took out the contract, ran my thumb across the signature, hours, side by side. Then I lit the old barrel stove in the corner, watched the paper catch slow, curl, fold into itself, Not out of anger, not erasure, just a final page turned. I kept the key, hung it on a nail by the door, next to the flashlight and the spare truck key. Not to use, just to remember what not to lock again. Saturday morning, light broke through the shed slats in long, angled lines. I wiped the sawdust from my hands, poured another cup of coffee, no rush, loaded 2 crates into the back of the truck, one labeled tools, the other not yet, turned the ignition, engine caught slow, didn't drive off immediately, just sat there, watching the field. A single crow circled twice, then disappeared behind the sycamores. I didn't follow it with my eyes. I just let it go. He emptied the account. I emptied the weight. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.